You are now listening to Out of the Blank.
Well, welcome to another episode of Out of the Blank podcast. I'm here with Simone Roux.
Hi.
So tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do professionally.
So professionally, I work for a neuromarketing company, which is a relatively new job, but it's super, super interesting and fun. Basically, it's like market research, but instead of like surveys and focus groups, it's more like we do things like eye tracking. We look at facial coding, so like getting the idea of people's emotions. We measure something called galvanic skin response, which measures, it's called emotional arousal, but it's basically just sort of the strength of whatever emotion you're feeling. And we'll do EEG or electroencephalography as well. So it's basically just a way of measuring customer experiences that's a little bit more
Using
implicit.
Identifiable signals from like your body's physical response rather
than
exactly.
Like I think a lot of times when you're experiencing something, you don't actually really understand logically why you're making certain decisions. And this is just another insight into how people make decisions while they're navigating a website or a store or whatever.
So instead of putting yourself like structuring your website in the mindset of what the viewer would want to see if they're going onto your website, more like what their kind of facial response is from it.
Exactly. I think like a lot of times, and I've seen this, like if you're sort of doing standard website testing and you just ask someone to like navigate your website for a bit and then you ask them about the experience afterwards, they'll be like, no, it was great, like love the features. But if you actually watch it back, like with like their facial expressions and where their eyes were drawn and stuff, like you can be like, no, you were clearly really frustrated at this point, or like you clearly didn't even notice this button or whatever. So it's just a more in-depth look at how people experience.
More of a little bit of a psychoanalysis on people in a way.
I wouldn't.
Because like
kind of, I don't think we're getting like an insight into like their psychology or anything about them, but like, definitely it's more of a test of psychologically, I guess, how you would navigate a website.
For me, using psychoanalysis is looking at someone's kind of understanding of how they came that way, or maybe why that's a certain thing in their mind. I used it in an art paper. I had to do 2 different paintings and try and psychoanalysis, like what emotions did arise out of me, or what feelings inside me that it awakened, and why it was different between somebody else. And I found like looking at brush strokes, looking at like the appearance features of things, your mind starts to unravel a bit of a story behind it and your own interpretation of what that painting means to you. And when you're doing some type of advertisement like this, that's it. Now, where does that come in the line with people's cameras on their computer? Because like I'm looking at you and I can tell like you're listening, but you're understanding, trying to comprehend what I'm saying. So then that's a facial feature that gives off. So you don't like hijack people's cameras, do you?
No, God, no. We're very ethical and above board and test people with consent and all that. And
you're
like,
above Google.
We're better than Google. I'm very comfortable saying that.
Because it's weird, because I know there was a time, I don't know if you heard about this, but there was like a bunch of people that were hacking to other people's cameras on their computer, and it was randomly coming on. Like, why is my camera light on? And I have no app where that would be responding to it.
Everybody should have tape over their cameras when they're not using them.
That's my mom grabbed whiteout and whited out her camera. I'm like, now you're never going to be able to use it. She's like, I don't care. I don't use it anyway.
No one else can.
I'm like, but who's going to sit there and like, honestly, it would be the most evilest thing. Like, you know what people do on their computer at like 2:00 in the morning, besides me, where it's like podcasting at 2:00 in the morning. There are people out there doing some dirty things. I'm like, why are you just going to sit there and watch them?
That was like a whole Black Mirror episode, was where like Black Mirror. Yeah, Black Mirror is like always 5 steps ahead of the rest of us.
I have never seen Black Mirror, but every time I say something or have a theory on something, like, have you seen Black Mirror? I'm like, what is going on in this show?
You gotta get on there, be a writer for it.
Look, I just took the time for Stranger Things, and I was like, whoa, this is all weird. I only got onto that because I looked up, there's a government program that actually Stranger Things was based on called the
Oh my
Montauk
gosh.
Project. And the government used to, there's this place called Fort Hero, and they used to kidnap kids and then test them and like do all these stuff for like psychological powers and summoning demons. And there was an account of a kid that was supposed to be the main character in Stranger Things.
Mm-hmm.
But before Stranger Things was a title, and it was originally called Montauk Project, but no place, no network would pick it up because that's an actual government
Wild.
experiment thing.
Okay, so I know what rabbit hole I'm going down tonight.
Exactly.
I love shit like that. Yeah. I love like all of that MKUltra. Like I'm in it. Love it.
Right, so what about MKUltra do you love so much?
I don't know. I just anything like I think part of me and I guess everybody else is like you sort of taught to have a very innate trust of like the government and people in authority, and I especially have a lot of authority issues in that I just really want to trust authority. So I think whenever I get like solid proof like this actually happened of like abuses of power or like really just shitty below board stuff happening, like it's a weird confirmation for me like yeah, you're right. But also it's just fascinating. It's so like crazy what people do when they have like unlimited resources and unlimited power.
I think well, first of all, I do want to point out, did you use language on my podcast?
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I don't give a shit.
I should have checked.
I don't give a shit. No,
I'm so used to swearing on my own podcast. I can't
you're the first person that did it before I did, so I was just messing. But
I'm going to take that as a measure of pride.
It was funny because I actually, a lot of people, what I find funny about MKUltra is not the acts that were committed, but more of how people consider it to be a conspiracy theory, that there's like, it's a conspiracy theory. There's no way people would do that. I was like, the government is not the problem. People that are in the government are the problem.
Exactly.
We put our faith in something that's supposed to be red, white, and blue or whatever true.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's because it's run by people and people are known to be a little bit less good than what they're supposed to be. But MKUltra, so there was she was known as the sexy model of World War II, and her name was Candy Jones. And she had a very kind of long psychological issue with her family. Her mother used to throw her into a dark closet, and she ended up creating an imaginary friend when she was a little girl that she became bonded with. And she was giving all this information out to a therapist and all these things. And she was known in the public eye from doing a radio show. And she actually became an experiment in MKUltra where she was a sleeper agent. And there was videos, and like she ended up finding it out like 30 years after it happened, through being hypnotized on her radio show. Like, because apparently her co-host or something found ways that she would just blank out at certain words, like coding in her head that would make her like snap into this program.
Yeah.
And so he started testing it, and then they had like a hypnotist in, and she remembered all this stuff that she did because there was videos of her that was her exactly, unless they made a clone. And she was like, I can't believe I went over to Germany and was doing these things. Like, I'm here right now. What are you talking about that I just disappeared and can't remember it? And they put her into a sleeper program. The government picked her up, and then I guess because what they do is it's a form of brainwashing.
Yeah.
Not like Adolf Hitler, and that is a form of brainwashing, kind of controlling.
Yeah, no, of course, but a little very different.
So they have accounts of this, and this is actually recorded on the CIA website. We do have the Freedom of Information Act, but sadly it does not really take effect until 20 years after anybody involved is dead. And then they black line a bunch of things. So I looked up this Freedom of Information Act, and then I kind of read through that. And then I looked up the CIA website. I was like, where's all the stuff that's supposed to be here? And I'm looking through. Everything is right there. everything you
Yeah.
can possibly look up that's a conspiracy theory. The government wouldn't do that. Project Diversion, where they were going over into Africa and they were making gay people straight, which is
Yeah. It's a real problem.
that one was like, what they would do is, if you were a guy and you loved another guy, they would try and brainwash you into making you straight. And if they couldn't do that, they would change your sex. They would, yeah. They're like,
Jesus.
well, we're going to make you a female. So it's what they called the right way. I'm like, oh man, I think the problem is, much like myself and probably you included, we're not too good with authority, people telling us what to do. I will be more than happy to do the dishes on my own. But if you tell me to do it, they will never get done.
I am actually exactly the opposite. Like I said, I have authority issues in that, like, I really like have this deep drive to please authority figures. And I'm just really, I don't know what it is. I don't know why. I just, like, the moment someone's in charge, like, I get super anxious. I don't know why or what, but like, I'm getting better at it. Like,
I'm like the first person, if you don't talk to me like an actual person, like my managers, supervisors, everybody knows that they have to ask me to do something rather than tell me. And I'm like, because you say, as soon as I start feeling like I'm being ordered to do something, I'm like, in one ear, out the other. I'm like, whoa.
You're just like my sister.
It's just a respect factor. Like, I would treat everybody, no matter your age, on like good manners. And I treat everybody like, you can be 12 or 85, all respectful. It's all about,
I totally agree with you, but something in my brain just happens when someone tells me what to do, and I'm like, oh my God, absolutely.
You were like, MKUltra.
I might have been. Are we gonna? Is this the next MKUltra thing? Like, are we discovering this on your show now?
I'm gonna unbrainwash you. That's now. So you know George Takei?
Yes.
The guy that goes, "Oh my."
Yeah.
That dude.
Love
Okay.
him.
Well, okay. So he made an audio tape where it's him talking while you go to sleep, and it's supposed to relax you and help you get like a deeper form of sleep.
Terrifying.
It is the most uncomfortable thing I have actually ever heard in my entire life. I actually tried his audio tape. I'm an insomniac, so I kind of look for a way to get sleep. So I looked up the beach sounds on Spotify, and there's one of them that's like a minute and a half in, a seagull comes in, and this
does that not jerk you wide awake?
This fucking seagull, I'm like, wow, these waves sound so nice, and I'm about to go to sleep, and all you hear is ah, and then every 10 seconds ah, and I'm like, I wake up, I'm like, I want someone to kill that bird. I'm hoping that there's a dude in there with like a gun, like ready to go. Like, I'm like, where is it? But listening to George Takei, because he has a really weird concept. Like, he thinks, like, he was kind of molested as a young kid. And he said it was good for him. He said that turned him out to who he was today. He says it was a benefit to his life that more kids should get molested. I was like,
George.
Yeah, I was like, is that just a bad? And we know him to be kind of a weird, quirky guy.
Yeah.
So I was like, is that like, is you attribute that to your success?
And like, oh, that's so upsetting, because it's also like, is this just like a weird coping mechanism where you're like trying to reconcile the horrible things that happen to you and like try to make it have meaning? But like, George.
I don't think you were. I think you were taking advantage of. Maybe that guy tricked you. But it's all like brainwashing. Is I try like advertisements. No offense to advertise. That's brainwashing. They're
absolutely.
My buddy, we got into an argument over him trying to buy deodorant for 5 minutes. He was like, dude, it's 2 for $5. I'm like, but you have so much of it at home. You don't need to.
In what world do you need 5 deodorants?
Exactly. Like, well, no, it's 2 deodorants for $5.
Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry.
He was like, the deals. I was like, what's the deal? What is it? You have 40 deodorants basically at the house. Like, you don't need any more deodorant. You're stocked for a good year. And he goes, yeah, but it's $5. I'm like, yeah, but what could you be doing with that $5? And I'm talking him, like, saying this while he's going up to the register. And I'm like, dude. And it's brainwash. He was just.
So, like, we like to say that, like, so a lot of us think that, like, humans are kind of rational creatures that occasionally make emotional decisions. And it's like the exact opposite. We're super emotional creatures that occasionally will make a rational decision.
We're impulsive.
And, like, advertising just takes full advantage of that. Like, you don't even, it's crazy. Like, what I learned, you don't even like know why you like something. But we know. And it's stuff like, if there's a smiling face on an ad, you will love it. Like, your brain just lights up like a Christmas tree, and you're like, that person's having a good time. I need that product to have a good time too. And that's not a rational thing you're thinking. That's just something your brain is just telling you.
And why is it
crazy.
like, have you ever seen the skin commercial for like acne? It was, I forgot which, Clearasil or something.
Probably not. I'm in Cape Town, so.
Clearex. It was like a long time ago, like 2013, 2014. Okay. But they had like 3 teenagers walking on the front screen laughing and smiling. Like, I used to feel like I was a bother to people, but then I got this, and it's supposed to be like acne cream. Then while the girls are smiling on camera, the side effects roll in, and they have that really fast guy talking, and it's like, side effects may include death, paranoia, explosive diarrhea. And they just start going off. I'm like, whoa. Like, one of them was legit explosive bloody diarrhea. I was like, oh my God, like, are we just, and people are still buying it because the girls are smiling on the front. I'm like, is anybody paying attention to actually what the dude is saying and slow him down a little bit?
It's designed to stop you from paying attention to it as well. Like, it's specifically engineered that you will not notice them say explosive diarrhea.
It's like the same one where it's like getting adult Pampers. It's a bunch of older people like playing basketball or something.
You guys have such wild commercials. Like, I have
it's
never
all an
seen
attention grabber.
Commercials like this.
What commercials do you have? You probably have some weird ones.
Well, in South Africa, you're also not allowed to advertise medication on TV or on the radio.
You said
so, like,
South where?
South Africa. I'm in Cape Town.
Oh my goodness. But like,
Yep.
So like, you're not allowed to advertise what, medicines at all?
Yeah, medicines or anything. So we don't really get like side effects listed in commercials because obviously no medicine. And I have never seen an adult diapers commercial in my life.
I have seen probably 4 by the time I was 12 years old.
My God.
I thought it was going to be way more of a problem when you got older. Like, but I get it, because sometimes I'll have a hard sneeze and I'll be like, whoa.
If only.
But like, I'll see like a Viagra commercial or something. It's just a bunch of older guys like riding a horse or driving a truck, something supposed to be manly. I'm like, what does this have to do with something that happens when you get older? I don't understand.
Yeah.
It's like, is this supposed to keep your essence of a man? But our commercials are so like, there are some good ones. Let me tell you.
They sound dark. A lot of the ones you listed now, like, it sounds like a really dystopian.
Have you seen the Doritos commercial with the goat?
I haven't.
No. Oh my goodness. This guy is eating Doritos with a goat, and they're just tearing up bags of Doritos, and the goat becomes a problem eating Doritos all day. And then the dude locks away all the Doritos and like hides them. And the goat opens up the closet and looks in the thing, goes, "Ah! Ah!" and just starts screaming like really loud. And goats actually scream. It's funny. So it's like one of those screams. And he goes in that thing, and the dude's eating a bag of Doritos, like goats painting a sign that says "goat for sale." And then the goat shuts the door, and that's all you see is Doritos. I'm like, that's a good commercial. Like, that's supposed to be a quick attention grabber. I mean, there have
been some bomb commercials lately. Like, I only see the ones that, like, I guess win awards or whatever, because I have to pay attention to that. But like, there are some really fucking smart ones out there.
There are ones that are crafted, and they're like, you don't think about it until you get into the store. Like, you're like, oh, I might need this. And it's like, when are you ever going to need like a hammer with like a screwdriver on the other end of it? Like, you're never going to need that, but the commercial was so damn impactful, you want to buy it.
You're like, of course I need this screwdriver hammer combo.
The reason I ever
the man in the commercial enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, I'm going to need this in my life. I saw every time I see a Silverado truck, I immediately think of getting one because of Sam Elliott. That guy. I don't know if you know who he is. If you ever seen The Ranch on Netflix, he's the dad.
Sure.
Well, he was like, he has this deep voice, like, "You're going to buy a Silverado truck." And I'm like,
okay.
Oh, it's like when you go to Arby's and you go to get a sandwich and you have that dude like, "We have the meats." I'm like, oh my goodness, they do. It's better.
Look at all the meats.
Exactly. Like, there's so much here. I wonder how much is actually meat. It's funny because we have advertisements for like they just get funnier now. They do it's what I call dumb advertisement. It's so simple that it's just to make you get a quick laugh and grab your attention real quick. Because I mean, that's the whole concept of advertisements. You don't want something long and boring and explainable.
No.
You want something that's quick, and because it's only going to play 15 20 seconds on the.
You just need something quick and impactful. Also, like, everybody has such limited attention spans now. Like, honestly, if your commercial's going on for too long, like, you've lost, like, and you need it to be that long, you failed.
That's actually, I can dive us right into what your podcast is. Fresh tomatoes. Okay.
Yes.
And I've talked to Chad, your other co-host, about this, and we've talked about how, like, finding the optimism in movies.
Yeah.
So do you realize that a lot of movies get crapped on because they have a story to it rather than having explosions every 2 minutes?
I sure do know. I just, there are a lot of times where we'll watch a movie and I'm like, I actually need to read the reviews to understand, like, what people didn't enjoy about this, because I thought it was a delight. But it's a full range of, like, people being like, oh, this is ridiculous. It's like, it's also a children's movie and you're a grown man reviewing it. So
I've talked
it's
about
probably not
Star
for
Wars.
you.
The whole Star Wars concept, a lot of people being like, this sucks. It's worst Star Wars ever. I can't believe they remade it. I'm like, it's not fit for you. I've talked to dads who are podcasters that do Star Wars podcasts, and they explain it. It helps. Some of them enjoy it. Some of them are just like, look, it helps my kid want to know the original series. Then I can bond with him and teach him something. It's like when I see my little cousin watching cartoons that got remade from when I was a kid. And I'm like, this lost the whole concept of the show. Okay.
Yeah.
Robin is not supposed to be playing with a whoopee cushion. Robin is supposed to be fighting people with a giant pole. Okay, that's what's supposed to happen. And my cousin's like, what do you know about Robin? I'm like, let me level you with the real stuff, and then
let me tell you.
Like, I feel like I'm turning into my grandparents, but it's like I'm starting to see it now. Like my little cousin, like, he got caught in the rain. It was a little while ago, and he was like, man, it was crazy. I almost couldn't fit my bike in the Uber guy's car. I was like, wait, hold on. You did what? And he goes, yeah, I had to Uber home. I'm like, why did you Uber home?
What a life they lead.
I'm like, why'd you Uber home? And they're like, oh, because it's raining out. I was like, you didn't ride your bike in the rain?
What?
You didn't just ride as fast as you possibly can trying to beat the storm and then drop your bike off in the front yard and then run inside the house like, I made it. And the next thing you know, your bike's all rusted the next day. Like, you didn't experience this? He goes, no, man. Because I was just happy the Uber guy fit and, like, was able to do that. And I gave him a 5-star rating. I'm like, I looked at his mom and I was like, do you see what he just said to me? And she goes, what? He had technology. He has his phone and stuff in his bag, his laptop and stuff. He can't get it wet. I'm like,
also, can I just add, there is nothing better than, like, you've gotten caught in the rain, you're inside, and you take, like, a hot shower afterwards. Like, that is peak joy.
I had to hitchhike because my car broke down, and I was like, I was a good probably, like, I want to say, like, maybe 8 miles away from my house. So I got caught in the rain about an hour in. I was walking, taking my time, and I was hitchhiking. Apparently I didn't know it's illegal where I'm at. So I'm sitting there. Even the cop didn't pick me up. He didn't stop to even stop me and say anything. He just kept on going. I was like,
you could have been murdered.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was, I guess it was at night, a little bit closer to night. I mean, sun was setting, but it was also really cloudy. And it started raining about halfway in. I don't care if I would have been murdered. I wanted to go home. I
just mean that's why the cop should have stopped. Like, you're on a lonely, like.
You think one person would see me and be like, that guy's not a killer, and then, like, pick me up. I'm the killer. There can't be two of us in the room.
I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm a girl, but I was just like, oh my God, the cops didn't stop.
Look, I've stopped at going to the gym at like 3:00 in the morning to pick up a guy that was walking at 3:00 in the morning. And let me say, he was a African-American person, whatever you want to say, and I was like, there's nothing wrong with him. He's 30 years old. He just needs a ride home. He just got off work or something. I don't know. Let's go. And I just drove him home. He's like, thanks, man. Well, a lot of people wouldn't stop for somebody, especially at nighttime. It's 3:00 in the morning. Like, what are you doing up? I'm like, I just got back from the gym, Brand. I'm like, you were on my way home. Might as well help.
And also, if you're up at 3 a.m., you are not a criminal. Criminals are lazy, in my opinion.
I have been up since 1 a.m. today, podcasting with a woman in Africa. And then now you're the second one.
Hey, that's exciting.
Which is weird because aren't you originally from the UK?
No, I'm not like Chad. I'm originally South African. Like, both my parents are South African. I moved around a lot growing up, but passport and everything, South African.
How'd you meet Chad then?
We went to university together when he was at law school at University of Cape Town. We were both in the same year, but studying different things. So
and you just kind of
that's how we met. And we actually
him.
started the podcast as a way to stay in touch after he moved back to the UK. Because when he was still living here, that was like our thing. Like, we'd just get hammered and watch movies together, and the podcast was a way to stick with that.
You want to know a good drinking game I played? I'm not a big drinker, but my buddy, he likes to. We watched our favorite movie, The Big Lebowski, which gets old.
Okay.
People are like,
great movie.
Yeah, people are like, what's that movie though? Like, my mom's like, what's that movie? I'm like, it's around your age.
It's a classic.
Yes, The Dude. I have my actually licenses or degrees, I should say, under the Church of the Latter Saint Dude. So it's called, one of them's called comedic science, whatever that means. And I actually, we were drinking White Russians and we were watching Django, and my buddy's like, we should drink every time something racist pops up. Like, okay. 20 minutes into the movie, I was trashed. I was like, dude, I can't do this anymore. He's like, dude, we're only 20 minutes in. I'm like, how much is left? He's like, an hour and a half. I'm like,
yeah, especially White Russians. That is a rough drinking game drink to choose.
And I'm like, we should just do it on have you ever seen Joe Rogan?
Yeah.
I was like, we should just do the same drinking game, but every time he mentions DMT or something, we take a shot. And I'm like, you would be messed up first 5 minutes.
We played a drinking game watching Star Wars once, but ours was, we had like a bunch of rules, but one of them was drink every time Luke is a whiny bitch. And it worked really well.
I must say, how much booze did you have on you?
Like, I don't think we made it through the whole movie, to be honest, but it was good fun getting there.
Like, you're watching, like try and watch an M. Night Shyamalan movie and take a drink every time something weird happens. You're not going to make it in. Yeah, you're going to die of alcohol poisoning. It's not going to happen. That's what makes movies so fun. Like, I know Chad asked me what my favorite movie is that might have a bad review. And I was like, everyone talks about it. Even Ryan Reynolds shits on it. Green Lantern.
Yeah. I think I watched it so long ago, so I don't really remember. But I think it's got a lot of those older superhero movies, like before superhero movies were considered like a profitable genre. They actually have a lot of charm to them. Because, I mean, they're clearly written by people who don't necessarily understand the point of the comic books or the themes of the character, and they're just making it up as they go. But it's kind of fun.
Wait, before I lose this. So you said you don't really know who Sam Elliott is?
No.
But you've seen The Big Lebowski?
Yes.
Sam Elliott.
Sorry. Did I get it wrong?
The Big Lebowski.
Sorry.
Sam Elliott is the stranger in The Big Lebowski.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
With the dude.
Oh my God.
You know who I'm talking about now, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, good. I just want to clarify.
I'm usually so good with my actor trivia, so I'm very disappointed in myself.
But it's funny because like the Green Lantern gets like a lot of bad stuff. It's not the best movie ever for Green Lantern. No, but it's the only movie we have for Green Lantern. If you're a fan of the Green Lantern and he doesn't have a movie, that's the one you look at. Yeah, they did a lot of things wrong. They definitely rushed it, but they had some pretty good actors in it. I mean, who doesn't mind staring at Ryan Reynolds? Who doesn't mind staring at, his wife, Blake? Like, come on. It was a good concept for a movie, especially like when they went up into outer space, a bunch of aliens. Like, that's a good superhero concept. But what movies do you find that like you really, really love, but they don't get very good reviews?
Oh, so many. It's a favorite recurring theme for Chad and I is Disney original movies, for Disney Channel. I mean, they consistently get bad reviews because they're not made for grown-ups, and then grown-ups watch them and they're like, oh, I can't believe the plot was so unoriginal. It's like, yeah, this is how kids learn about plot, is by watching movies like this. Like, this is where they learn about the cliches. It's not cliche to kids yet. And I love those. I find them very joyful, and Disney has a lot of money to throw at them. So, like, usually the production value is actually solid. My favorite, like, movie of all time that is genuinely terrible, but I love it so much, is Zombie Strippers.
Oh my God.
Have you seen
shit
it?
on that movie so many times. I have talked so much shit on that movie.
I love it. It's so bad.
I saw it when I was 14 years old at a sleepover, and we decided to watch it on like
I think
HBO.
everybody saw it when they were 14 years old at a sleepover. It's perfect material for that.
It was at midnight, and I was like, why the fuck is this a movie?
I love it.
You wouldn't like. First of all, the title "Zombie Strippers." Like, I started psychoanalyzing it later in life. I was like, "That is who wants to see something dead stripping or naked? Like, are you a necrophiliac?" And then I'm watching it. I'm like, they have this, like, the one stripper that was like barely getting any clients compared to the others, and she's at the end, like, they're all like, "Finally, we've handled this," and then she just comes out on stage and like trying to dance, and everyone's like, "Whoa, look at her!" I'm like, what the hell? Like, this is why my parents don't leave me alone. Like, God.
It's terrible. I know it's terrible. I know it doesn't make sense, but I love it so much. It's just wildly entertaining the whole way through. The makeup is ridiculous. The dialogue is outrageous. The fact that becoming zombies makes them better at stripping is so inherently hilarious.
They're more flexible because when they went to go put their leg behind their head, their leg just falls off.
Exactly.
I'm like,
that's funny.
I look back at it now, and I saw the movie like recently on like Netflix while I was scrolling through, and I was like, I am not watching that again. But I'm like, I guarantee you, I would laugh at so much more stuff. But back then, I was just like horrified.
Yeah.
It was like, what is going on? And it's like, I can't believe we spent $4 on this shit. Like, it's like, it was a bad move.
It's like, like I said, it's bad on purpose. And I just really appreciate every aspect of that. All the bad stuff. I love it so much. Are there any like really properly bad movies that like you enjoy?
Like, actually meant, like, what do you mean by bad though?
Like, I'm talking like Sharknado, Zombie Strippers, like bad movies that did bad and are bad, but you like them anyway.
I liked Green Lantern, but I do think it was a bad kind of rush on it. I think they should have had a better production in it. But a super, super terrible movie. I fucking hated Bird Box.
Oh, really?
I can't stand Sandra Bullock. She reminds me too much of my mom. So every time I see her, it's like my neck hairs stand up. But the only good part was the first 10 minutes. Like, I'm watching it with her, and she's just like, isn't this movie amazing? I'm like, this is awesome. People are getting hit by trucks.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
The beginning's really wild.
And then like the rest of the movie, I'm sitting here like, this is the same shit I see at a movie theater. It's all jump scare. It's all it is. There's no story. There's nothing. What we're supposed to believe in this thing. I think a really good movie, like I like a lot of M. Night Shyamalan's movies for sure.
Sure.
The Happening.
I still haven't watched The Happening, actually.
With Mark Wahlberg?
Saving it.
Now, I think it's a dumb idea. The plants are talking to each other and like through the wind, and it's causing people to commit suicide. But doing actual scientific, like kind of case study stuff, there's a thing known as it's like plant rights, and there are all these advocates that are for plants having their own thoughts, which is actually a scientific fact. So
sure.
There are trees in Africa in a section that connect to each other and communicate through their root system. But
no, absolutely. But it's not thinking in the same way that we're thinking.
Exactly.
Like, if that, like, I don't know how else to explain it. Like, it's not.
So there's a thing called it's called like plant therapy or some type of these psychic plant people, and they're supposed to be able to read off that plants give off emotion much like people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they did a study on this, but it wasn't proven real because they could not replicate the same result more than
sure.
like a certain number of times. It has to be like 10 out of 100 times they have to produce it, and they could only do it a couple times. What they did was they grabbed a fern, a little ficus, and they hooked up the lie detector test to it to get emotional response. They hooked it up to the leaves on the plant. And what they did was they took shrimp, like little baby shrimp, and they boiled it next to the plant to see if it would spark off, like sense that there was something dying in the area. And if that would do that, and they were getting signals from it, but they could not really have enough evidence to correlate if that was it getting an emotional response.
Yeah, especially like out of 100 to have so few, that's it's basically then just pure chance that they got signals on those couple of times. So my background is I have a degree in neuroscience and biochemistry. So like that all to me sounds really dodgy, because a lie detector test also, I mean, I guess they could, no, because a lie detector test works on your heart rate, which plants inherently don't have.
They had it set up to a different frequency. It was the way they described it was like a lie detector test, like a system like that. I wouldn't be able to.
Oh, okay. But it wasn't like a human lie detector test that they then popped on a plant.
That would be weird. Like, where'd you put the money?
Yeah, exactly. That was my thinking. Like,
I just found what was so fascinating about the happening was that there's actually a thing that plants do everywhere, where there's like a certain insect that'll be eating its leaves and eating it and killing the plant. And the plant can actually tell the other plants.
Send distress signals.
That to change the tasting of their leaves, to make it more of like a poison or more of a type of non-tasteful thing to these insects, so the insects won't be eating their leaves constantly. And
that's
like
super cool.
That's an amazing response to just this life or this thing outside of our house that is not really, we're not even considering to be active or responsive. And like people say, if you talk to your plants, it'll help them grow. Obviously that's from carbon monoxide or dioxide that's in our voices. So that, like, if you yell at your plant, it's going to grow bigger because you're breathing on it. It needs that, what it's giving you for life, you're giving it for its growth. And I think that's an amazing concept, which really made me look at the happening. Like, I thought it was also pretty crazy that the wind would just shift and there was a dude that just stops like a zombie, lays down in front of a moving lawnmower and just lets it run him over. I'm like, oh, I'm 15 years old watching this. Like, this is awesome. And my mom's like, isn't this scary? I'm like, no, this is freaking intense. You got Mark Wahlberg on the front screen. What are you talking about?
In all fairness to Bird Box, though, the book is much better, I think, at capturing sort of the fear you get in the initial 10 minutes where you're like, what the fuck is it? Why is this happening? And the book carries that through much better. I think any creature that you can't actually show the audience is inherently hard to do on screen.
I think most of the time, like when you do a movie, it's probably a lot better because usually it was a book first. Usually the book, like a lot of people that read the book first, it encourages them to watch the movie. But I also think it's like your first interpretation of something.
True.
Like Bird Box for me, not a good one. So I don't want to go read the book. Like if I would have read Bird Box first and then came across the movie, I probably would have enjoyed it.
Yeah. I mean, I read the book first and like I enjoyed parts of the movie, but they changed the plot up a bit. And I think they miss some of the themes, some of the stuff they changed I liked. So I guess I feel pretty like I'd probably prefer the book, but the movie was fine.
Now, do you prefer more of like the comedic arts of movies, or do you prefer more of the drama horror kind of series?
I'm definitely more of a horror girl. I like a comedy, who like by design, who doesn't? Not so much like super dramatic. Like I don't really like watching a lot of dramas. Like life is sad enough and I don't want to cry. But I like a good horror. I don't know why. I really just love being scared. I guess some people watch movies to feel sad and I like watching them to feel scared.
So you deal with more of like the neuroscience of things, the neurological side of the chemicals and the kind of impulses that we have as people. My favorite thing is I like psychology a lot.
Yeah, sure.
So I went to school for psychology to get like mental health kind of stuff. And I like seeing where people kind of come from their understanding because I'm fascinated with the human brain. We just have two different kind of fascinations about it. Mine's
two different ways of understanding it or looking at it.
So I want to ask you, like the kind of like an attraction to things being bent on from like a younger age. Like if you're influenced with, like I talked to so many people who are horror podcasters that are all about horror films, and that was because through their life that's what they had, like that's what they were raised upon. I remember one guy was talking about getting a severe head injury, and then
interesting.
His mom, like to keep him awake, played Jaws on the TV.
What the fuck?
So he wouldn't pass out from like.
That's so traumatic.
And he loves horror movies because of that. And I'm like,
what a great way to fuck up your kid.
Exactly. I'm like, that's such a good fucking movie too, though. It's like a lot of people don't even consider that horror. I'm like, first of all, you get eaten by a shark. But like for my impact, like Disney movie, okay, I can never watch Beauty and the Beast.
Okay.
So, because I got into carbon monoxide poisoning when I was a kid.
Wow.
And when they brought me into the hospital, this was back in the day when it wasn't an effective way of treating, really. They just stuck 2 tubes up my nose. I was feeling drained. I was in there for a day and a half, and they had this TV placed in front of me that was just playing Beauty and the Beast over and over.
Oh, wow. It was like a Clockwork Orange kind of thing going on.
It was some shit, some MKUltra stuff, because I'm sitting there like, I'm not a little teapot, and I'm not short and round. And then they gave me like this sandwich. It was a peanut butter sandwich, but the crust was cut off. I'll never do a no crust sandwich again, ever, because of that. I'll have to eat it with the crust, because I had 2 tubes up my nose, and I'm trying to eat a sandwich at the same time. It's so difficult, and you're like, and you're just like, can't deal with this anymore. Take Beauty and the Beast away, please.
And so you can't, is it just Beauty and the Beast, or is it like all kind of Disney movies?
I like Disney movies. I haven't really seen a whole lot of the recent ones, just because like going to the movies is kind of like out of my way. I do plan on seeing maybe a couple in the future, like when it comes to something like super, like I'm interested in.
Yeah,
but I haven't found anything that's really caught my attention. I'd be like, I'll just wait till it comes out on like Netflix or something. It's hard to get that kind of motivation to go to the movies, really, because like life every day, it feels like it's kind of like to do anything else after work is like, I don't really feel like it.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Also, like I like going to the movies very occasionally, so it feels like an event. Like, and then like you can splurge and you get like the whole popcorn slushy.
Oh no,
candy.
you gotta go to the dollar store down the street, and then you walk in. Look, my grandfather's a genius, all because he taught me in the very beginning. We would actually get movies from the movie theater, and he was like, pick a candy out. I'm like, Snow Caps, all the way, Snow Caps. Chocolate and a little bit of like mint on there. Let's go. And I'm like sitting there before the previews are even done. I'm done with my box of candy, and I look over, and he's eating Swedish fish. He's eating something sticky. So I'm like, he's eating that box the whole length of the movie. Then when we get out, I'm like, well, he's just old. He eats slow. No, he goes, next time, buy Juji Fruits. I'm like, that's a terrible movie candy. Yeah. He goes, no, just do it. And I did it. I was about 10 pieces in. I ended up saving that box and taking it home and eating that for like the next 3 days, because I was getting bits of them suckers stuck in my teeth. I was like, yo, I was sucking on that treat the whole movie. He goes, there you go. That's the logic behind it, man. I'm like,
that's kind of genius.
Sir. And it's funny because like you have stuff like that. Like I think the whole best part about what really hits somebody about a movie, it's different watching it in your home when you're laying on your bed rather than when you go to a movie theater. If you really, really are excited for a movie to come out, don't wait for it to come out so you can watch it in your house. Because if the environment's not right, you're not going to enjoy it.
No, definitely. Definitely. I think there are some movies that also really lend themselves to being watched in a theater. I think definitely some like that for all the Avengers movies, the Star Wars movies, all those like big cinematics where they're using like a fuck ton of CGI and like you kind of need to see that in a theater.
It's like your environmental influence. Like I'm a big kind of a prioriter on that one. Like if you set up your room for like a gaming night or a movie night, you want to have like candles lit. If it's like a scary movie, you want to have all these add-on
exactly
things. It creates you need
the atmosphere.
Yeah. And it's funny.
Definitely.
It's funny because there's a, what is it? I almost lost my train of thought. There's a like if you go to see an action movie or like a car movie, you want to make sure you're like primed and ready to go. You want to get in like a car, you know, if you're seeing Fast and Furious, you want to be like, I'm gonna speed a little bit. I'm gonna get,
yeah, exactly. Like get some adrenaline going.
Get pumped up. And it's a good activity to do too. Like my buddy's a big Fast and Furious guy. He also is a big guy when it comes to like Spider-Man. I hate Tom Holland.
I've heard.
I can't stand him. People
I
say
think you're the only person I've ever met who hates Tom Holland.
It's all because of this one picture where everyone says I look like Tom Holland.
You know,
Don't
little in that
it.
picture.
Stop.
Like a little bit. It's the exact.
I've had so many people that just look at it and go, "Why are you taking two pictures?" Like, oh, wait a minute, that's Tom Holland. I'm like, and someone pointed out. Now I can't stop looking at it. But like it's just because, like, for me, my Spider-Man was Tobey Maguire. You know,
sure.
It was really weird because he was like 30 years old and he's playing the role of an 18-year-old, and he actually makes you feel like he's in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Like caught the whole bullying one, the very first one, like in the beginning, like a lot of people that were, especially at my age, being young at that time, like around like 14, 13, when that movie came out, I was like, man, I can resonate with that. You know, I think it's all about the attraction that you get to some, like, not really an actor, but I think me and Chad talked about this too, but like having all the pieces come together at the right moment to really give you a good experience or an overall connection with the movie in general.
Definitely. I mean, like one good actor is not going to save a bad movie. Just like one good script is no good if the actors can't pull it off. Like that's why like a really amazing movie is something super magical, because it's just, you're like, oh my God. And then this, and then on top of that, this, and then the costumes, like, love it.
Like I saw Avengers Endgame on my phone.
Oh,
and I was like, that movie sucks. And my buddy's like, where did you see it? And I said, I was looking on my phone at like 1:00 in the morning. And he was like, how good was the quality? I was like, I mean, it wasn't bad. And he goes, and did you have to pause it every couple of seconds? I was like, I had to pause every like 20 minutes or so. And he's like, that's why the movie sucks, is because you saw it in a shitty version. I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, you need like the whole like experience, and you need to like see like everything.
The problem, the whole idea of it being 3 hours, though, I was like, like people were putting on Snapchat all the spoilers, so I ended up getting ruined from it. But like, everyone's like, this is the proper time to go to the bathroom at this scene when this is happening. I was like, anything with Nighthawk doing anything is probably a good time to go to the bathroom.
Shit.
Like, because honestly, I mean, it's a cool concept, but like, you're there for Captain America, you're there for all the big wig actors, like the big guys, and that's when we talk about like sometimes like when it comes to like a superhero movie, and those, they go off the comic books, so they have a workaround of what they can do. But newer movies now being on the same concept, like a horror movie all about jump scares, comedy is all about jokes every 5 minutes, and you're talking about short attention spans, it's because they have a template that works. Yeah. You know, it's like Call of Duty, where it's just the same thing. They just add a couple things to it. They know what works. They know what people are going to buy. So like, why would they mess with the original recipe? You can't mess with KFC's recipe.
Yeah. No, definitely. But I'm glad, like, I think especially in horror movies, like we're definitely seeing a cool break in the pattern, and we're getting like genuinely interesting horror movies where like people are like, you know, it's still scary if we put effort into the script, and it's still scary if there's like some payoff for the random shit we showed at the beginning. And I've just really appreciated that. Because you can only watch so many slashers where like stuff is half explained and then like never comes up again before you start to go a little off the whole genre. But like there's been some good stuff out lately, and I'm very happy that people are like, oh, like maybe we should put effort in.
I really liked, like, because back in the day you saw more effort, like with like The Exorcist and all these things. You hear about the actors being messed up later in life.
Yeah,
like, you know,
especially The Exorcist.
What made Star Wars even more interesting to me, I like the original ones, but not really the newer ones. But listening, I heard that the girl that played Princess Leia, actually had severe bipolar depression issues. Yeah. And she ended up like taking her own life and stuff. Like, that was a crazy thing to understand and find out about, which made me look at the movie a little bit differently and try and see signs of it. One of my all-time favorite movies is Signs. Like, a lot of people don't like that one just because something happened with Mel Gibson, or a lot of people are like, it never showed any aliens. I'm like, that was the whole thing.
That's the point.
It scared the shit out of you with actually not showing anything until the ending.
That's literally that's such a standard thing for horror movies too. Like, a lot of times when they actually show you the monster early in the horror movie, you're like, oh,
hey, you're ruined.
Okay, you're not that scary.
And don't do what the Bird Box did, where it's like they just give you glimpses of it and they have this concept of what it is. I'm like, where is it actually, though? Don't get some birds to come in and scare it away. What monster that's killing people and throwing people through glass windows is going to be scared at a bird? But I guess it was
you never know.
But I find it funny because, like, from the Bird Box or something, but also, like, a lot of really good movies are very independent film people now that don't do really a whole lot of advertising.
Yeah.
Mostly because Disney and all those things, they own the market. I mean, they literally buy out other places. Like, how many times do you actually see an advertisement for McDonald's anymore? You don't need to. Coke doesn't need to do an advertisement. They don't need. They're already known. Like, in your head, when you think of fast food, the first thing you think of are those golden arches. You don't think of anything else, because they don't need to do that. And it's weird because, like, a new soda will have like an advertisement out. Like, Pepsi will have a new flavor of something. And next thing you know, Coke just randomly pops in. Like, hey, Coke, just remember Coke.
And everyone's like, you're so right.
Yeah, like, what was I thinking? It's all a form of brainwashing. Movies, all of that, like, it's all getting you to kind of buy into what they're selling. And it's a lot of them are really good. I think what I love about older movies is the concept, like, there was an original story and it felt like all the actors would be put into place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there was like The Shining with Jack Nicholson. Mm-hmm. Jack Nicholson is probably the one guy that should run for president. Robin Williams always said, because that guy has fucked everything and tried every drug, there's nothing to incriminate him on. But he's so real. Like, when he's playing in The Shining, you can't tell if that's really him or if that's just the character role he's playing. Like, here's Johnny, that whole thing. And then American Psycho.
Mm-hmm. With Christian Bale?
Yes. Okay. That dude has an amazing talent. That guy goes incredible. Through such weight transformations, like, doing all that for a role.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I read a thing recently about, I forget the role, but like Ryan Gosling gained something like 60 pounds for a role that he'd been promised. And he did it by like drinking Haagen-Dazs ice cream every time he was hungry or thirsty. And then he got swapped out. Like, they picked someone else for the role at the last minute. So he'd gained 60 pounds for nothing.
You got to make sure you got the role before you're trying to.
Well, apparently it was like a done deal. And then last minute they were like, oh, sorry, actually, Ryan, we're going with this guy. Can you imagine?
Yo, Ryan Gosling is going on a shooting spree after that one.
Like, I'd fucking lose my mind.
You know how pissed I would be if that happened to me? I would be like, nuh-uh.
This is ridiculous.
You're paying for it all to come off. You're paying for all of it. It's crazy because you get to see how actors really go into their roles when they really try and do like stuff like to their physical body. And a lot of people gave, like me and Chad talked about, a lot of people gave Christian Bale a lot of crap because of him freaking out on a person on set for not doing their job or not having the props table set up right. And I'm like, why would he not freak out? It's not him being a glorified rich asshole. It's him going, literally transforming his body and his mind and putting himself in these changes. And someone can't even get something out on the table, right? No, it's just someone not doing their job effectively.
Also, I have to imagine he was just fucking hungry. Like, I'd snap at anyone for anything. If he was eating like an apple and a cup of coffee a day for The Machinist.
And then he bulked up to 200 something to play Batman Begins. And then he dropped back down to like 186 to play, I think.
It was in The Fighter, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then he gained back up like 10 more pounds to play another role in Batman. Then he gained like up to 240 on Dick Cheney. Like you see him play like we have CGI now, but that's him actually. That's his body.
Yeah,
There's
and
no
prosthetics
fat suit.
and
Like when they did Thor and Endgame, like that's all that's all fat suit. That's nothing. That's makeup. No, Christian Bale's like, I don't need that shit. And he just goes out there and is like, I'm going to eat, nothing but burgers all day and see where I go.
Yeah. What a guy.
I just love the concept of like movies in general. I mean, they're great release of time, stress, much like a video game is. It's just so easy just to sit down and kind of unwind. And it's a good way to kind of connect with people again, too. Like you're all being in the same environment. Like, have you ever been in a movie that you felt like you shouldn't be there, but at the same time, it was such a good movie, you wanted to see it?
No, I haven't.
I went to go see Straight Outta Compton.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Me and my buddy were the only white guys in that theater.
Sure.
It was very uncomfortable when it got like, I don't see race as really a thing. I treat people with respect, but it was obvious tension when they were getting thrown on the ground by officers, and you literally could feel in the back of your head, everyone just in the whole theater staring at you, literally people in front of us turning around like, well,
how could you?
Like when I got outside of the movie after it was over and all this stuff happened, I was like, talking about them about the movie. They're like, yeah, man, wasn't that crazy how he's like, get up like, fuck the police. I was like, yeah, it was a culture thing. They created something when there was nothing. And I was like,
I actually had, I'm going to say a similar experience because I didn't feel like I didn't belong. But I went to watch Black Panther when it came out in theaters. We went and watched it in the movies, obviously. But like, this was a South African theater. So it was like a huge mix of like cultures and colors and everything. And it was really cool because you could tell for some people, it was like the first time they're seeing like their own culture represented like in a superhero movie, which was wild. I mean, they're speaking Xhosa, and like people understand it in the theater. Obviously it's the South African language, and like it was just so cool. You could like feel the excitement. People were so thrilled to see like their traditional clothes and languages and everything being used. And like walking out was actually just a really beautiful experience, and I was super excited. Like I'm like some white girl. I see people like me portrayed all the time in movies, but it was like so cool to share an experience where people are seeing themselves.
Yeah, where's your Starbucks Frappuccino, by the way? I've been asked where your Starbucks was. Where are the UGG boots? See, it's like they're all stereotypes, and I tell people like people that look over in Africa and think everybody is kind of like dying and sick, and I'm like, that's not all parts though. Like it is obviously a problem there, but like it's really not though, right?
I mean, there's poverty everywhere.
Exactly.
I'm not saying that we don't have it or that it's less here, but like there's also so much more to it.
Every time I podcast with someone from Australia, they go, man, you guys got a problem with guns over there. Is it like that dangerous for you just to walk out on the street? I was like, no, it's a stereotype. It's the same thing when I think in Australia, everything can kill you that lives there. It's not that true. I'm like, it's Africa. There is poverty. There's poverty, like you said, everywhere. They just experience it a little bit more because I don't know if you ever heard of a Haitian mud cookie.
I don't think I have.
So there's this woman that I work with who's from Haiti, and she was like, have you ever had a Haitian mud cookie? And I was actually doing a topic on it for my other podcast. And I was like, yeah, it's 90% dirt, 5% butter, and 5% salt. Isn't that insane? They got to taste, that's got to be awful. That's the only thing they can eat there because it's basically to fill your stomach up so you don't die of starvation.
Wild.
So
Jesus.
I was talking to her about this. I was like, I can't believe that. Like you ate those? She goes, yeah, my grandma still makes them. I'm like, hold on. Your grandma still makes mud cookies and you eat them still? And she goes, yeah. I was like, we order dirt. It's clean dirt. I'm like, you understand what you said.
But I mean, a lot of food, like a lot of traditional foods everywhere are like basically foods from times when there was less. Like that's why you still have a lot of like meat dumplings or like curries, which were a way of preserving meat. Like we just love that shit.
People eat dog and stuff too in some countries because it's like that. And I started talking to her. I was like, you know what? I can't knock it until I've tried it.
Yeah, you got to try it.
You bring one in from grandma's recipe and I will try one of your Haitian mud cookies. She goes, it tastes just like a snickerdoodle. Trust me, you're going to love it. I ate it. I'm not going to lie. It was actually pretty good.
Okay.
was a little bit scared what was going to happen later. I ended up not going to the bathroom for like 2 days.
Yeah.
But it was actually not bad at all. They really it's like if you put sugar on a salad, it changes up the game.
Uh-huh.
Like it's not eating healthy anymore, but it's like the salad's really sweet. It's like candy. It's really good. It's like I went to a restaurant and they actually, I wouldn't say me. I would say it would be someone that I actually know went to a restaurant and they put sugar on a salad. So when they got the experience from it, they're like, dude, it was like candy. I was like, what do you mean salad's like candy? He's like, they put sugar on it. And I've actually tried it myself, like a little bit of sugar on something. It makes it very, very sweet. And I'm like, it's all about just covering up the flavor profile, which makes sense. Like down there, that's a good tactic for survival. But I told her, I was like, so you still eat these? She goes, yeah, we just order clean dirt. And to talk about that, like it's just dirt from a better area than if you went and go pick it up from your front yard. Like that has more minerals in it. It's actually common with pregnant women. They actually get a craving for iron and metals that are found in the earth.
Yeah.
And they'll actually try and eat dirt because
a lot of them eat chalk and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. And that like understanding all that just gave me like, this is where I try and stay open-minded as possible. Like I can't blame cocaine for things if I've never tried Coke, you know. I've had the opportunities, but it's not on my list of things to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all about like, there's these kind of things in life that like, I think we get stereotyped a little bit when it comes to like, you know, poverty in Africa or something. I'm like, if you really want to do your advertising job justice, please make a terrible commercial for the SPCA.
I don't do advertising. I just test it, but I will see what I can do.
Can you do something to help that at all? Because I swear to God that in the arms of
they need to get a new singer,
and get Sarah McLachlan the hell out of there. Nobody's donating to that. We're flipping the channel. I swear. If you played like a good song, like, you know, like I think How I Met Your Mother, that show did an episode on it. They were like, they played the wrong song or whatever in one of the SPCA commercials. So it's a bunch of sad animals' faces, and it's all you hear is murder.
Oh yes, I remember that.
And it's like a bunch of dogs got adopted. I was like, oh, okay. So like, just change it up. Play something like
a lot of shelters, like private shelters, do really bomb advertising. To be honest, like
they
their
also
social media presence and marketing is amazing.
They create backstories too on their animals.
Yeah, they tell you about their personalities and like it's great. It's really, really clever.
He was found in a ditch and nobody ever gave him love and he survived off eating maggots. And you're like, oh, and then you like, this dog did not experience any of that. Like, well, it's on your hands now. I'm like, I'll just move and leave him here. Who wins in the end? But I think it's like it's all kind of mysterious, like how life kind of comes together when it comes to movies, music, and just everything that brings us all kind of connected to one. Because in essence, we all technically come from Africa. We all used to be Pangea,
cradle of humankind, et cetera, et cetera.
But just what makes people so interesting, which is like I get for my podcast sometimes, like people are like, you only get interesting people. I'm like, no, I just title it after your job. That's all it is. You look up my job as being a houseman at a hotel. It says I'm a cleaning supervisor of industrial purposes. And I'm like, like hell I am.
Not in my life.
Like I don't think I've ever done any of these things it's saying I'm doing. And it's like, it's funny because like we're all interesting in our very own unique ways.
Yeah, I love that as a concept. I really like that for your podcast. I think that's brilliant.
So I really appreciate you even taking the time. I mean, especially coming all the way from Africa too, and just being able to kind of talk to me on my podcast. It was awesome. I want to give you here a minute at the end to promote your
thank you for having me. Cool. So my podcast is called Fresh Tomatoes, the Movie Podcast. We review 2 movies every week that did badly, and we try to be as nice as possible about them. We've got a bunch of really fun episodes coming up for Halloween. We're also part of our network's radio spooktacular for Halloween. So that's Robots Radio. Keep an eye out for that because it's really fun. And Chad and I both try to voice act. That's us. I have told Chad, and I'm going to tell you too, review the Green Lantern. We will. Send me that when it comes out. The moment Halloween is out, we might try to get you on for Green Lantern. Oh, I got you're so passionate about it. About Green Lantern. I love that movie. The whole ring thing. Like people are like, what happens if he loses the ring? I'm like, then he's not Green Lantern.
I don't know what you want me to say. It's that simple.
Easy. It's comic book logic from like the 60s. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Why is a ring giving him power to float into space? You're thinking too much. You know why?
Don't ask questions.
This was a topic on a Star Wars podcast I was on. The guy was like, don't you think it's weird? Like the Force, do you think Luke was able to shoot that into that 2-meter hole, that thing that blew up the Death Star? I'm like, why the fuck do they have a 2-meter hole? Why didn't they cover it up?
Yeah.
And like everyone's like, wait, why
if you start questioning one thing,
it's like, but then why are we questioning that? Why are they able to point their hand out and an object floats? We're not even questioning that. Life is questionable, but it's funny. You gotta enjoy
sometimes you've got to let it go to enjoy yourself. Like, shit.
Like watching Bird Box. I got to look past Sarah McLachlan to be able to actually like the movie. Sad
or
part
just
is,
read the book. Like, do yourself a favor.
Oh, but then every time I'll read the words, I'll think of Sarah McLachlan.
You mean Sandra Bullock?
Is that who it is? Who I've been saying? Sarah McLachlan?
Sarah McLachlan, yeah, the singer from the...
It's her. And
it's full circle.
It's the damn conspiracy. It's MKUltra.
Oh my God.
Look.
Yeah, maybe this is like your word that gets you all angry.
Oh my goodness.
Holy shit.
I can't believe I've been getting her wrong the whole time. No,
no. It was just towards the end.
I was about to say, wait, so I said it right the first time.
Yeah. At the beginning of the podcast, you definitely said Sandra Bullock.
Sandra Bullock and Sarah McLachlan, those two are my big bugaboos when it comes to trying to enjoy something, and they take the fun out of it.
And they remind you of your mother, which is also very interesting.
Not Sarah McLachlan, though, but definitely the other one, for sure. That's funny. Well, look, I appreciate you being on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It was really enjoyable having you on.
Thanks. It was fun being on. It was nice to meet you.